And there we are. We should be recording. Let's keep our fingers crossed. And here we go. You ready?
Yeah.
Good evening, Texas bikers and bikers all across the nation. This is Texas Biker Radio number 388. My name is Mel Popeye Moss. My co-host, Mel O.G. Robbins. We are with Sons of Liberty Riders MC, who are defenders of the Constitution and people who've had their constitutional rights violated. Now, as you can tell, my voice is still kind of weak, but we will move on as we always like to say. Good evening, Mel. How are you doing?
Bored as hell.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm tired of trying to heal.
Yeah, tell me about it. Tell you about it. Now, in case for the folks that don't know out there, OG and I had the same cancer in different places of the body, just weeks apart, and we both have had surgery for that cancer. And I think I got the crappy end of the deal, Mel.
Yeah, you did. They cut your throat.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. That's the reason I had the camera back a little bit there so everybody can't see my scars and stuff. But it's obvious that my voice is weaker. And that's from having tubes and everything else jammed down my throat. And, OG, that's gave me a pretty good idea. If I'm ever on life support, there's no hope. It's time to move on to the next life. What do you think?
I would have to agree with you.
Yeah.
I would have to agree.
Yeah.
There's no quality of life when you can't ride.
That is no kidding. And I am chomping at the bit. I promise you. I've got cabin fever like nobody's business. But I know I'm still not quite there. Not quite there. But I will make our next church. That's for sure. And there are things to do beyond that. And Mel, in the promo where I use Geezer, a man of not very many words, to promo our show number 388, and I stated in that promo there, or Geezer did, that there is news about the gang database checks. Now, am I loud enough and strong enough to do this? Okay, here we go. As I told everybody in an article I wrote at TexasBikerRadio.org that I did do a check on our gang database link. Now, from what we had been hearing, people had been telling us that, hey, they started asking questions, wanting to know your driver's license number, your address, your social security number. Now, you do not have to give them that. Your driver's license number should suffice, which they have anyway. It's the frickin' DPS. It's the DPS. They also have your picture. Now, let me say this. I did try that link out. It did not ask me those questions at first. But I did receive an email back from somebody in some freaking department. You know, they operate under a veil of secrecy. And I did get an email back asking me for my full name, my address, and my driver's license number. Now, they already have this damn information. So it's just another step. Just another step. I gave them
It's called intimidation.
Yeah. Now, I did give them that information that they already have and fired it back at them. Now they sent it back. I got an answer back again, said, well, you didn't give it in the sequential order. So I wrote December 7th, 1947. Now that tells my age, which I don't give a shit about, because I'm young at heart and I'm still able to ride two wheels. But let me say this. I gave them that information, again, which they already have, just to go through the next hoop. Now, let me say this to everybody. Asking if you're in a gang database should not get you put into the gang database. If we find out that's going on, I think it's time for a class action suit. But we will give them every chance to answer my question. Am I in any Texas gang database? Now, that answer should come back pretty fast, because it's just a matter of looking into a freaking computer. How about them damn fusion centers they're building everywhere? That's all it's a matter of. Click, 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 you're done. We should get an answer back pretty quick. Unless you're
First time I asked, they answered within 24 hours.
Yeah. Now, we've heard people that have had to wait weeks. We've heard of people that got no answer at all. But whatever happens, we need to document it. And you guys, again, you should not be afraid of this. You guys go out there to check and see if you're in a gang database and let us know the results. If you are, if you aren't, or if it, like in one case, I was talking to a rider yesterday, his came back inconclusive. What? What kind of program are they running? Of course, we know what kind of program they're running. It's just freaking hear 'em, scare 'em shit. And so, man, you got any comments on that?
Well, I think since we've encouraged everyone to start checking, I'm pretty sure they've noticed an uptick in requests.
Oh, yeah.
They've retrenched, and they've adopted a system where they think they can start intimidating people when they start asking for additional information.
Yeah.
And, excuse me, unfortunately, it will intimidate some people because there's already some excuse me, some out there that believe by merely asking you're going to get your name in the database.
Right.
Which, again, it will not happen. And if it does, they're priming themselves for one hell of a civil action.
Yes.
So, I would love it if they would start putting people in the database just because they started inquiring.
Yes.
But, it's your government in action trying to lay in layers of bureaucracy and red tape to stop us from doing this.
Exactly right.
And we're going to keep pushing. There are legislative action items that are being drawn up to make the state more accountable for this, and we need to keep pushing. In 2019, we said push back, and in 2020, we're saying push back harder.
Yes.
We need to keep pushing back hard.
That's exactly
in
right.
Every area, every arena we can think of. Now, we're not advocating breaking the law.
No.
We're not advocating being jerks out there. We are advocating know your rights. Don't let them push you around. And do what is necessary to let them know they're screwing with the wrong element.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And Mel, you said the key word there, accountability. accountability. This is it going forward, everybody. We want to make them accountable for their actions. Just like that sheriff's candidate, Darrell Hull, was saying the other day, hold us accountable. And by God, that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do, and we're going to make sure it happens. Now, for you guys outside of Texas, I'm sure in your state you've got the same thing going on. And there has to be a vehicle for checking to see if you're in a gang database. Use it. Use it. Hold them accountable if they start giving you the runaround, if they start operating under a veil of secrecy like they do here in Texas. Now, we are taxpayers, and they are accountable to us. And by God, we're not going to have it any different way. All we're searching for is the truth. And many times, there's very little truth coming out of their mouths. Or the stuff they put out there. And we're working, everybody. I'm not going to tell everything we're doing because, hey, they just throw more roadblocks. They just try to throw more roadblocks. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the first thing that happens is good old law enforcement out there will start intimidating state representatives. I'm not talking about regular officers. I'm talking about the administration.
Exactly.
The lobbyists from law enforcement.
Yes.
Will start attempting to strong arm representatives. Remember back here a few years back, Popeye, when you and I went to that think tank presentation?
Mm-hmm.
And while we were there, we ran into two politicians.
Yeah.
One was a state senator, and the other, I think, was a state representative.
Exactly.
And in fact, the state senator was Don Huffines, and at that time, we were talking to them about asset forfeiture.
Exactly.
And how crappy that law is and how something needs to be done. And Huffines jumped right on it because that was, as we came to find out, one of his major pet peeves and stuff that he wanted to push through in the legislation to get that stopped because he believed it was evil and unconstitutional. But we had that junior state representative there that had not been in office very long.
Yeah.
And this guy was shaking in his boots, talking about, oh, we can't do that because law enforcement's really going to get pissed off if we start messing with that.
Hmm.
So that was our first inclination of just what's going on out there with the law enforcement lobbyists and how they start attacking these representatives and strong-arming them, making it tough to get legislation passed that they're not in favor of.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we're talking about the lobbyists and the administrative force in law enforcement. We're not talking about the regular cops that are out there because there's a lot of good ones. A lot of guys out there that, we chatted up with a lot of times when we're on rides that are just very friendly, treat us well. And, there's good guys. But, like everyone else, they got a few bad apples. We have some bad apples. Everybody has some bad apples.
Yeah. Parker County in particular.
Yeah. And that starts at the top.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Now, Mel, these are also mentioned in the promo. We give the latest on what's going on in Milam County. Now, Milam County is a place where a biker was stopped for 7 miles over, supposedly, even though he did not receive a ticket for 7 miles over. And instead, he finds himself under illegal carry charges, and now he's fighting for not only his reputation, his rights. He's a former combat veteran. Matter of fact, he's a disabled veteran now. He served our country for 24 years, and so now he's fighting for not only his rights, Mel, but the rights of all bikers out there who should be able to constitutionally carry. And he was riding per the law, legal in the state of Texas, and he should not find himself under attack by his own government for riding legal down the highway, and instead, what's happening? He's being taken to trial for what he was wearing and for what club he may belong to. Now, it's in our view that things fall on the merits of the individual, and he should not be in any gang database. He's not ever been convicted of a felony. Has not really been in trouble with the law. So it's a terrible thing we see going on down there, and the courts have made it almost impossible for him to defend himself. There's so many restrictions, and we see this not only playing out at the national level, but we've seen it played out again and again and again in courts across Texas, and Milam County is just the latest. And so it's imperative that we express our opinions on this, not only us, but everybody out there, no matter what club you're a member of. No matter. And whether you're a 1% club or just a rider riding down the highway, because we've seen people stopped and had their weapons confiscated. They're not even a member of the club at all. This is what we see going on. And this will spread if it's left unchecked. Now, they have asked that Judge Young in Milam County, to recuse himself, and he's refused to do so. And this is kind of shades of Waco, Mel, and he's refused to do so. So other actions are probably imminent. Now, the judge has also threatened to file contempt charges against the Patrick's lawyer, and so we're on top of it, and we'll let you know if there's something else we need to do. But understand, this is ongoing. It's gonna last well into the summer, if not beyond. So they're making him jump through all the hoops, and Patrick is glad to do so because he didn't do anything wrong. He was riding per the law. He had been vetted by the state as a non-criminal. And we have laws that are confusing. We have a gang database that contradicts itself, and we have people being taken to court over these gang databases when they shouldn't be.
Well, let me inject something here too.
Go ahead. I'm tired.
Relative to Patrick's status, he has been vetted at a state level.
Yes.
That he's not a criminal. But let's not forget, he was also vetted at a federal level that in order to buy that or purchase that firearm, he is not a criminal.
Yes.
So you have, two vettings here, one for a concealed carry and the other just to purchase a damn weapon.
Yes.
So, it gets a little ridiculous. However, we should also note to everyone, and I'm sure some of y'all have seen it on Facebook, that the second state has now passed legislation on anti-profiling of bikers, motorcyclists, whatever. Now, I say legislation, it's not a resolution. They have passed legislation. That is key. And it was key to get that second state because they said no once or twice before, and they finally got it through, and it has passed. What's key here is now, as they go from state to state to get that legislation passed in other states, they can now show evidence that it's happened in 2 states, not just one, which makes it weightier. So every state that this gets passed in will add to the weight and authority that we can present to legislators in every state that this is a thing that needs to be passed because it's a problem.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you for relieving me for a minute there. But, Mel, let's not stop there. Let's move on to Parker County. We do believe the 82-year-old sheriff, and I don't know, Mel, maybe that gives us hope we can run for sheriff somewhere.
Yeah.
At 82. Anyway, he's had a double lung transplant, and from what I hear, Mel, he's kind of an absentee sheriff. In other words, he's not in the office every day. And I would think a sheriff needs to be. I would think a sheriff, he's not Longmire. Let's put it that way.
Well, he's either not well enough or doesn't have the energy to be there.
Yeah, exactly. And so, here he is, his absentee sheriff, and his deputies are running amok. He said his own deputies lack tact. Well, if that's the case, I think that's a reflection of the sheriff himself, because generally the deputies and the people that surround him take on his attitude. And I found that to be that way everywhere where there's like a team, where you have people working with you. It's people take on the attitude of their, let's say, coach. And I find that everywhere. And I think that's exactly what's going on in Parker County. The deputies are acting out the way their sheriff wants them to. And like we brought up in that interview with Darrell Hull, who is a candidate for sheriff in Parker County, that this is a result of either poor training, lack of training, or the inmates are running the asylum.
Well, they're doing it only because their administration's allowing it.
Yes. And also...
And maybe even encouraging it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also not a complete understanding of the law itself. They took that Criminal Code of Procedures, I think it was 61.02, they took that and just ran with it. Not only Parker County, Ellis County, and other counties throughout the state. They just took that and ran with it. Regardless of the ramifications it has on your constitutional rights. And so, now there's plenty of bad laws out there. And there's plenty of laws that they do not enforce. And this should be one. This should be one. But I digress. We have a plan for all this. We're not going to divulge it here. We've got things to do going forward. Now, as I heal up and we get out and we start talking to politicians, as my voice and my speech gets a little bit better, and it's on the mend, we're going to take you along with us, wherever they'll let us. And it ought to be exciting this summer. I look forward to it, and I look forward to taking everybody with us, every place that we can, every place that they will allow a camera. And we're going to be working on that. Oh, and one thing in particular, Mel, we've got to encourage people to get out there and vote.
Especially in the primaries.
Yes.
A lot of people fail to recognize how important the primary is,
yes,
especially when you've got an incumbent like Parker County.
Yeah.
You've got an incumbent sheriff. You've got a strong person running against him. And unless he beats the existing high sheriff in the primary, you won't see him on the general ballot. So
right.
The first line of defense here is get out there and vote in the primary and vote to get that existing sheriff out. And that's the only way you can be successful. If you fail to make the primary, this guy, the incumbent, may well be victorious, and he'll be on the general ballot, and the strongest competitor he had will have already been beat. So please do make sure you vote in the primary. On top of that, we want to encourage everybody, especially in the state of Texas, to contact your local council of clubs. Attend the meetings. That's where all of this proposed legislation is being drawn up. It's being discussed. Your rights are being discussed. And especially now, the Council of Clubs is also for independents, because we call ourselves the Texas Council of Clubs and Independents. And there are several regions around the state. There's one in Austin, Houston, DFW area, and several others throughout the state. Contact those folks and attend the meetings. And most importantly, also get involved in Texas Defenders, which is a part of the Council of Clubs, and they deal specifically with legislation. So you want to make sure you look into that too. And you don't have to be a club member to be involved in that. You can be an independent.
Yes, you can. And Mel, you can go to Texas Defenders, Region 2, and read their new newsletter that they're putting out. And Mel, let me tell you, that newsletter is really good. It's really good. A lot of good information. The thing is top-notch. We encourage everybody to go look at it. You can find that file. It's in a file. You just click on the file, open it up, and you can read the newsletter. It's really good. A lot of good information. Tells you basically what's going to happen going forward. But not everything. Not everything. We don't want the other side to be able to bash the heck out of us before we get started. But anyway, like Mel said, you do not have to be a club member to take part. And so we encourage you to do so. That being said, because Geezer said we're more than just pretty faces. Let's talk about the coronavirus and the stock market a little bit. Something you and I both know about. I used to play the markets. I don't so much anymore, but you're still involved. So let's talk about the markets in general. But first, let me make this statement. With all the panic we see going on, with people buying up all these masks, and many of them don't work. People are buying this stuff off the shelves. That kind of panic is going on. But when you get out in the general public here, there's nobody panicking. Everybody's still going to work. Everybody's still going to the malls. Everybody's still going to the movies. The stores are busy. So the public is not panicking, but it doesn't take much to panic the market. And we have politicians that are throwing gas onto the fire. Mel, you want to make a statement about the market here?
Well, yeah, I happen to be involved in the market to some degree, so I have been watching this past week, and the volatility in the market is just phenomenal. It's almost unmatched at any other time in our history. There have been times when the market's kind of bottomed out over small issues and things like that. I've been watching the futures market, and where the normal volumes are somewhere between 1 and 2 million contracts at any given time, it is up between 4 and 5 million. People are panicking. They're calling their brokers. They're calling their money management or their money managers and saying, get my retirement funds out of the market now. And everybody's selling. So there's a real panic going on. Now, the futures market itself has dropped well over 300 points in just this last week. The Dow is down several hundred points. It's just, it's rolling, and it's liable to get worse before it gets better. And my advice would be, now is the time to buy.
Yes.
Because it'll go back up.
That was going to be my next statement, Mel, is there are opportunities. When this happens, there are opportunities. Mel, I was active during the .com era, and when I got out, really, Mel, I had no clue. I just went liquid with everything, and but at that time, when things went south, it made me look like a genius. But I really didn't have any clue. I was just
You just
lucky.
got lucky.
Yeah, I was just lucky I did that. And of course, I kind of wish I'd have got back in and rode everything back up to where it is now. But, hey, that's hindsight. It's always 2020. But I promise everybody, the market will recover. Everything will recover. And we'll see how bad this coronavirus gets. And, hopefully it's not going to be bad. It's not going to be in place near a pandemic in this country. And
well, to date, more people have been hospitalized and died from the common flu.
Yes.
Than what's going on with this. So,
Yeah. And Mel, the common flu, those numbers are staggering. Staggering. So
Yep.
I think you should fear the flu and get a flu shot more than you should fear the coronavirus right now. Although the
Yeah.
coronavirus is a form of flu, and it's a respiratory disease, what I understand. And Mel, it comes from animals. Animals. They suspect that this came from a reservoir in China. Now, people have been beating up on the Chinese for their diets. And, somebody made mention of the fact that they eat skunk. Well, I don't know anything about eating skunk. But I do know a little bit about how they produce farm-raised fish. And those farm-raised fish eat the manure from other animals. In other words, they have them in a cage above the fish, and the droppings go through the cage and down into the fish tanks or reservoirs. And that's what they're feeding on is manure from other animals. I do believe that process is not a good one. And so that's the reason in my family we avoid any kind of fish products that come from China. If it's not caught out there in the open ocean, I don't want it. I don't want it. Just my opinion, Mel. Just my opinion. But, Mel, listen. Mel, how in the hell, the homeless people get onto a DART train and go down to DFW to sleep in a terminal? Do you imagine that do they give them free transportation on the DART? And for you guys outside of Texas, that's our local train system. I'm just trying to figure that out. Because I go in through the airport quite a bit, and I don't see homeless people underneath the bridges out there. I don't see them walking down the roads out there. So they've got to be entering on these public transportation. So I guess they go around they steal enough bottles or return stuff or whatever to get enough money to go down to the airport. So now they're having to throw them out of the airport terminals. Because the other day one of them attacked a passenger getting off an airplane. But didn't really assault her, just kind of mouthed at her. Probably trying to bum some money. So they're throwing them out of there now. Like everything else, all they'll do is just move them from one place to the other. They don't really get rid of the homeless. They just move them. So, but hey Mel, get this. Are you ready for this? The Dallas Police Department says they're going to use traffic stops as a tool to prevent crime. In other words, Mel, they're going to be profiling the people they stop and checking them out really close. Checking for weapons in the car and this and that and the other. What do you think about that?
Well, it's just more and more of a police state. Mm-hmm. It's, you reflect back, especially those of us that are a little longer in tooth, we reflect back to our youth and the stuff we did and the freedoms we had when we were growing up. And when we started driving a car, I mean, hell, we still talk about having a rifle rack in the, in the pickup and taking your shotgun to school. And as soon as you got out of high school, you went dove hunting.
Yeah.
Try that today. You know, not going to happen. It's just, you know, our rights are slowly being stripped. And our children, the millennials, and the snowflakes have been brought up to believe that socialism is a good thing and to resent people that have money. And they firmly believe they're entitled to get stuff for free and to not have to work hard. And it's just, we're in a downward spiral.
Yeah.
Sad to say, but that's exactly what's happening.
You know, Mel, speaking of that kind of story, when I was 13, my dad had a 410 over and under. You're familiar with that, right? The 410 on bottom and a 22 on top. So, during the summer, probably at least once a week, we would grab our guns. My 410 over and under, the wooded areas, probably weren't a half mile from our house where I grew up. And we would march down the street with our guns and into the woods and go deeper into the woods, a few miles sometimes, over toward where Joe Pool is at now. And we would hunt. We'd either hunt rabbit, squirrel, whatever. You know, and Mel, I doubt today there's that many kids out there that know how to skin a squirrel or a rabbit and have a feast on the spot.
Let alone be able to shoot one.
That's right. That's right. And so, you know, it's kind of funny that we would, people would see us, and many times we'd stop at the local 7-Eleven on the way for something to drink, because we didn't take our rifles, our guns inside the store. They'd only watch them, and then we'd come out, you know, go on our way with our drinks, or whatever we bought, candy. They didn't have hot dogs back then. But we'd have our candy and our drinks, and we'd be going on laughing and joking and carrying on. And, probably scared most of the animals that we got close to away. But back then, there were rabbits everywhere, man. They were everywhere. And they still are. There still is. But, you know, what a great time to grow up and be yourself. God, what a great time. And the only people that ever got in our way was the fuzz. But it had nothing to do with hunting. Nothing to do with hunting. Well, maybe one of these days I'll tell that story, Mel. Or I'll finish my book called The Oak Cliff Kids and the Paperboy Mafia. So all I got to do is get it illustrated, and then I'll be set to go. But anyway, that's another story. Mel, I want to thank everybody for enduring my voice during this broadcast, and thank you for your help today. And you know, we're both on the mend from our cancer surgery. We're still wondering about putting a helmet on. And so, you know, that kind of stuff, safety measures, and safe riding. And so I won't be back on the bike until I feel it's safe for me and everybody around me. And that's just the way I feel about it. And We want to encourage everybody to go out and vote. Do your due diligence. Do the right thing. Because now you have a clear choice. A clear choice. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. You're smart enough to figure that out on your own. But going forward, we're going to have people we prefer. And going forward, we have state legislators that are going to need our help. And we're going to let you know who they are, and we're going to let you know every time we talk to one. And that's coming up pretty soon. That's coming up pretty soon. Mel, you got any closing thoughts?
Yeah, keep an eye on Harley Davidson.
Oh, yeah.
The existing CEO of 26, he's been with the company 26 years, has now stepped down.
Yeah.
Probably because of lagging sales. And he's being replaced. They've got an interim guy in place. They're looking for a new guy. And I'm sure they're looking for new market strategies. So keep your eye out and let's see what happens.
Yeah, Mel, and I would say, did you see my comment I made about that today?
No.
If he's the brainchild behind an electric Harley Davidson, he should be fired.
Well, I think he was.
Yeah.
They always put it in polite terms that they stepped down, but we all know what that corporate lingo means.
Yeah, yeah. And, hey, if they need a new manager that's got an idea that can move things forward, here I am. Here I am.
You'll move to Milwaukee, huh?
That's right. That's right. I know how to get it done. With that, everybody.
Ride safe.
Ride safe, and thank you for being with us.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.